You just got $1 trillion, not a million, not a billion. A trillion. That's a 1 with 12 zeros. But there's a catch. You have 24 hours to spend all of it, or the money vanishes like it was never there. No investing. No giving it to a friend to hold. No loopholes. Spend it, or lose it. Sounds easy, until you realize something terrifying. To spend $1 trillion in 24 hours, you need to spend $11.5 million every second. Every second you hesitate, you lose another mansion. Your brain immediately goes to luxury, cars. You walk into an exotic dealership and don't even ask for prices. You point, I'll take that one, and that one. Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren. Actually, forget picking. You buy the entire dealership, every car, every spare part, the building, the land. You now own a $12 million garage, which sounds insane, until you check the clock. You've just spent 1,000% of your money. At this rate, you'd need to buy that same dealership every single second for the next 24 hours. You realize, cars are officially useless. You move to yachts, big ones. Not rich person yachts, the kind that require a crew larger than a small town. You hire teams across the globe to track down the 100 most expensive yachts in existence. You buy them all, and because time is money, you throw in massive bonuses just to speed things up. That's about $40 billion spent. You feel accomplished. Then you realize something awful. You still have $960 billion left. You haven't even reached halftime. So you go absurd. You buy the largest cruise ship ever built. Not just the ship, you fill it completely. Everyone sails for free. Every ticket is paid. Every passenger gets a luxury watch. You hire global superstars to perform live. Multiple concerts. No expense spared. Then because you can, you send them into space. At this point, money doesn't feel real anymore. Luxury doesn't feel special. You're not buying things for enjoyment. You're buying them to delete numbers from a screen. You want something meaningful, something that says power. Art. You could buy the most expensive painting ever sold, but that barely moves the needle. So you try to buy a museum. That's when you hit a wall. Some institutions don't belong to anyone. They belong to everyone. And money, no matter how large, doesn't automatically override that. This is your first real lesson. $1 trillion is massive, but it's not absolute. So you turn to property, cities, skylines, land. But even here, the scale is disappointing. The most expensive real estate deal in US history barely cracks a few $100 million. To you, that's nothing. Spending $200 million feels like spending lunch money. Buying buildings one by one would take years. You don't have years. You have hours. So instead of buying cities, you decide to create monuments. You go where logic bends, where ambition doesn't apologize, places where people build the impossible just because they can. Artificial islands, megatowers, projects so large they're visible from space. You don't fund them. You buy them outright. You buy the ideas, the blueprints, the future plans. You throw money at scale itself. And yet, even now, you're still not done. Here's the uncomfortable truth. $1 trillion is too big for human intuition. The tallest building on Earth is worth less than what you'd earn by blinking as a trillionaire. If you stacked dollar bills to the sky, you'd pass satellites and still have money left over. At this scale, real estate is irrelevant. Infrastructure is irrelevant. You need something larger. You need sovereignty. You wonder if it's possible. Some places joke about it. Some leaders tease the idea. But nations don't have price tags. They have flags, borders, armies. And that's when you realize something dangerous. Money doesn't buy countries, but it can reshape the conditions around them. And suddenly, $1 trillion feels less like wealth and more like leverage. By now, you're impossible to ignore. Governments are watching. Institutions are nervous. You try influence, politics, campaigns, lobbying, donations. You quickly learn the second hard truth. Money opens doors, but it doesn't guarantee loyalty. Public opinion still matters. Culture still matters. So you go higher. You buy attention itself. Media, advertising, narratives. If perception shapes reality, you now own the loudest megaphone on Earth.